I have something to say. You need to hear this. The worst call in baseball, and Shohei paid the price. Hello everyone. Today we are diving into something that has the entire baseball world shaking. A crushing 13-run defeat. A catastrophic umpiring error. And one of the greatest legends in baseball history who could not stay silent. This is not just a game story. This is about the dark side of American baseball that nobody wants to talk about. Let's set the stage. The Dodgers were on the road. The atmosphere was electric. Shohei Ohtani, the man who has been rewriting the rulebook of what is humanly possible in this sport, stepped into the batter's box in a moment that could have changed everything. The pitch came in. Shohei held his swing. Any fan watching with their own eyes could see it clearly. The ball was outside. Way outside. The umpire punched him out. Strike 3. Called. Done. For a split second, the entire stadium went quiet. Even the home crowd knew something was wrong. Shohei turned slowly, looked at the zone, said nothing, and walked back to the dugout. No argument. No theatrics. Just silence. And somehow, that silence was louder than any argument he could have made. But the damage was done. That moment broke the inning. It broke the momentum. And from there, the Dodgers never recovered. By the final out, the scoreboard read 13 runs against them. One of the most brutal defeats of the season. On social media, it exploded immediately. Fans were pulling up the pitch tracking data, circling the location of the ball, screaming into the void. The numbers confirmed what everyone already knew. The pitch missed the zone by a significant margin. It was not even close. The commentators on the broadcast were visibly uncomfortable. One of them said quietly, almost whispering, that he did not want to second-guess the umpire, but the data does not lie. The other one simply shook his head and moved on. Nobody wanted to say it out loud on air. But everyone was thinking it. This is the dark side of baseball that the league does not want you to focus on. The side where one human being with a bad angle and zero accountability can alter the outcome of a game involving the greatest player on the planet. And then, one of the most respected and feared legends this sport has ever produced decided to speak. He did not hold back for even 1 second. I'm going to be honest with you. I am furious. Not disappointed. Not frustrated. Furious. What happened to Shohei in that at-bat was an embarrassment to this sport. I have been in this game my entire life. I have stood on that mound. I have been behind the plate. And what I saw was indefensible. That pitch was not even borderline. Borderline calls, fine. I understand. Umpires are human. I accept that. But that pitch? That was not a judgment call. That was a mistake. A clear, undeniable mistake. And it happened to the most important at-bat of that inning. Do you understand what that moment meant? The Dodgers needed that at-bat. Shohei was the one man on that roster who could have flipped the entire energy of the game with one swing. And he never got the chance. Because of one bad call. I want people to understand something. When you are a pitcher and you throw a strike, you feel it. Your catcher sets up, you hit the glove, and you know. When that pitch missed the zone, the pitcher knew it too. Watch the replay. Watch his reaction. There was no celebration. No fist pump. Because even he knew something uncomfortable had just happened. This is not about Shohei being a superstar who gets special treatment. This is the opposite. This is about a player of that magnitude deserving at the bare minimum, the correct call on a pitch that decides the direction of an inning. And the most infuriating part? There is no consequence. The game moves on. The 13-run loss goes in the record books. And the umpire goes home. I played in an era before all this tracking technology. We argued calls because we felt them in our gut. Now the data tells you in milliseconds exactly where that ball crossed the plate. There is no debate anymore. So when a call is wrong and the data proves it immediately, the question becomes, what does this league do about it? And the answer right now is, nothing. That is the dark side nobody in an official position wants to address. Those words landed like a heavyweight punch. Because this is not a young player venting emotion. This is a legend. Someone who has seen everything this sport has to offer. Someone who earned the right to speak with that kind of weight. And he was angry. And he was right. The pitch tracking numbers that came out after the game confirmed the exact margin of error. The pitch was outside the zone. The at-bat should have continued. What Shohei would have done with a full count, with fresh legs and that competitive fire burning in his eyes, we will never know. What we do know is this. In that same inning, the opposing team's lineup strung together hit after hit. The Dodgers' defense began to show cracks. The pitching staff was stretched. And the scoreline grew uglier with every half inning. 13 runs. 13. Baseball fans in Japan were awake in the middle of the night watching this. The reaction on Japanese social media was a mixture of disbelief and quiet fury. One fan wrote simply, "This is why I am scared every time Shohei steps in against a veteran umpire." Another wrote, "The technology exists. Use it. Protect the players." These are not casual fans overreacting. These are people who love this sport deeply and who understand that what happened represents a systemic problem that has been brushed under the carpet for too long. A second voice then entered the conversation. A legend from a different generation. Someone who built his career on precision, on reading the game, on understanding every microscopic detail of what happens between pitcher and batter. The thing that nobody is saying clearly enough is this: that call did not just take away one at-bat. It took away the team's belief in that moment. I have been in dugouts when a call goes badly against your best player. The energy changes. Players stop trusting the situation. They start playing cautiously. Carefully. And in a sport where confidence is everything, careful is the beginning of the end. Shohei is the kind of player who lifts 10 other players simply by being on base. When he is neutralized, especially in this way, not by brilliant pitching, not by a great defensive play, but by a wrong call, it sends a message through the entire dugout. And that message is dangerous. I have so much respect for how Shohei handled it. He said nothing. He walked back. He kept his dignity completely intact. And honestly, that restraint says more about his character than any home run he has ever hit. Because in that moment, every competitive instinct in his body was screaming. And he controlled all of it. But the league needs to ask itself a serious question. We have the technology. We have the data. We have the ability right now to eliminate these errors on called strikes in critical moments. So why are we protecting a broken system out of tradition? Tradition is not a good enough reason when the integrity of the game is at stake. This is the dark side of American baseball. Not the players. Not the competition. The resistance to accountability. The unwillingness to say, we got it wrong, and here is how we fix it. By the time the final out of that 13-run defeat was recorded, the conversation had already moved far beyond the scoreline. Because this was never just about one game. One call. One pitch. This is about whether the greatest player in the history of this sport, a man who has already changed what we believe is possible in baseball, deserves a level playing field. A fair zone. A correct call. The legends are speaking. The data is undeniable. The fans are watching. The only question left is whether the people in power are listening. And until they do, this dark side of American baseball will keep showing up. In the data. In the scoreboards. In the silence of a man who walked back to the dugout and said nothing. Because sometimes silence is the loudest protest of all.